Hello everyone. Today, UPSC has released the final merit list of Indian Forest Service 2023. And with us, we have Mr. Swastic Yaduvanshi, All India Rank 3 topper with us. Swastik, I'm very happy for you. Congratulations for reaching the All India Rank 3.
Thank you, sir.
And Swastik,
Yes, sir.
how are you feeling?
Good, sir. More than anything, I think I feel relieved because it has been a long journey and finally something good has come from the hard work, sir.
When did it start, UPSC preparation?
Sir, I started preparing around the end of 2017 in August precisely. And since then, I've been giving attempts. This time, I did not give the CSC attempt. I only prepared for forest services.
So, with respect to this UPSC journey, this is
Yes,
you have given Forest Service before? This is
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, this is my fourth attempt at IFoS,
Okay.
and otherwise I have given 5 attempts in CSC. sir.
CSE. A long journey, no?
Yes, sir.
And how did the parents feel?
Sir, I think they were also relieved because along with me, they also, I think, to an extent, do feel. They also feel that since a child is working hard, probably you should get something good out of that. So I am happy for my parents more than I'm happy for myself, I guess.
But this come very good also. Like
Yes.
All India top 3 out of the
Yes.
147 ranks
Yes,
is a very
sir.
good rank.
Yes,
So
sir.
over the last 5-6 years of journey
Yes,
has
sir.
given a fruitful measure now.
Yes, sir.
It will start on another journey. The journey will also be good.
Yes, sir.
And you spoke about the entire part. What is your graduation?
Sir, I did my bachelor's in civil engineering from Jamia Millia Islamia, Delhi.
Okay. And after that, you started preparing for civils.
Yeah, yes, sir. I worked for about 2-3 years,
Mhm.
and alongside I'd started preparing. Then I left the job that I was doing. Then I have prepared. In between, I did my master's because my optional was to prepare for my optional.
Okay. And we spoke about this civil services and forest service, no?
Yes, sir.
Like, what pushed you to prepare for forest service?
Sir, to be very honest, initially I had no idea about the forest services and what it actually involves. So from a cousin, I had got to know about the civil services, and I stayed with him for some time. So from his experiences, I learned a bit. And the job I was doing was in the development sector around sustainable development goals. So, sir, it aligned, and I started preparing, sir.
Why there is very less information or awareness about the preparation for forest service? As a student, what do you think where it lacks?
Sir, I think because it is not as glamorized, I think, as other services in the public eye. Because as an IAS or IPS, you stay in at a very important position, handling security and the general development of a district overall. But in forest services, probably you are away from the mainstream media and working in secluded areas even at times. So that could be one. Sir, another thing I feel that because the prelim stage, you have to get a very good score to prepare for forest services. So a lot of candidates, like I never thought initially that I would clear the forest services prelims. So I did not bother thinking about it. But then when I prepared well eventually, so then I started to find out and read about it, sir.
But as told that the other services, civil services, which is also an all India service like IAS, IPS,
Yes.
which they have their own role, power, and its responsibility, which is also huge,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Similarly, forest service is also an all India service,
Yes, sir.
which is also has its own role, and that too in present scenarios.
Yes, sir.
How do you see it? Like, I think you get it. The present scenarios in climate change and all those things.
Yes, sir.
What is the role of a forest service officer?
Yes, sir. Sir, in the present context, I feel it's very relevant because, for so many days it has been in the news, the Uttarakhand forest fire. And as forest officers, as an IAFS officer, like it's our responsibility and role to protect the forests, ecology, and the communities that live off that. And even we live off it, even though I might be from Delhi, but I do not directly realize. But the resources, the clean air, I mean, everything for that matter comes from the environment and forests. So, sir, as a forest officer, it's very relevant with increasing pollution, say in Delhi. I'm a Delhiite. Need for more urban forests. So, how can an IFS officer manage or increase the extent, area, have more species that can probably absorb air pollutants and can grow quickly, and we can create forests, sir. And apart from that, sir, even with the land degradation and issue about our water resources declining so much, the groundwater, sir, there as well, as an IFS officer, if I am like helping a reforest areas, we can both protect the soil, land, and recharge the groundwater as well.
I think when you spoke about all those things, right? There are 3 All India services, and Forest
sir.
Service is also a
Yes,
All
sir.
India service to come with respect. And how do you? What is your training process, and how do you enter into Forest Service? What will be your career growth?
Yes, sir. Sir, in my limited understanding, like initially, I'll be attending the foundation course at Labasna for 4 months, and then with at IGNFA, we'll have a training for 1.5 years, I think, from making the working plan to visiting a lot of forest areas and with areas with unique biodiversity. So, sir, yeah, during that process, I think I'll learn more about forest laws, how they work, and for now, I read it theoretically, but on ground, practically, from my seniors in the academy, like how we can apply these laws and regulations and how we can mobilize the local community in our favor. So, sir, within the academy, I think eventually I'll learn these things and more technical knowledge with regard to forestry, which as aspirants, I think we don't have. We prepare for an exam quick to just clear it. So,
To add on to you, I will tell you one more thing.
yes, sir.
Indian Forest Service training is considered to be the one of the best training in terms
Yes,
of
sir.
tours. You will
Yes, sir.
tour around the Indian forest, length
Yes,
and
sir.
breadth of Indian forest,
Yes,
and
sir.
you will enjoy it. I
Yes, sir.
knowing you for all these months over the
Yes,
year,
sir.
right? And you will enjoy all the length and breadth of forest. You
Yes,
will tour it a lot. Also, will be there. And while earlier speaking, we spoke about one of the challenge for Indian Forest Service is clearing the prelims,
Yes, sir.
right? Uh, can you explain on the prelims part, like
Yes,
how the
sir.
cutoff varies between civil services and forest office?
Yes, sir. So generally, the cutoff is about 15 marks high on average. It has gone up to even 20 marks and 10 marks. So like 10 to 20 marks, like the extreme ranges from the CSC cutoff. And I think that is largely because they expect us to know environment as a subject uh, better if you're appearing for the prelims and are interested in the forest services. Environment being a very core area within prelims that is asked. I think more than 20 questions are asked from environment. And yeah, so should I talk about the preparation?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so sir, with regard to the preparation, I think personally, if I am targeting the forest services, I would focus on a few specific important subjects. Like I worked really hard on preparing environment. So I used to do a lot of papers. Like even past year papers, I used to keep attempting again and again. And those current year sectional tests on environment. And like reading the basic books. And apart from that, sir, reading the newspaper regularly just to stay abreast with whatever is happening around the environment and forests. Other than that, sir, the area that we can really increase our marks and get ahead of the competition is probably ancient, medieval, and art and culture because people don't usually prepare that well. So covering the basic NCRTs, 11th and 12th, the new NCRTs and the older ones as well. I think I have done that, and I made my own notes on OneNote, and that have used consistently. So these two areas specifically I've worked really hard on, and even on science and tech. And largely the strategy has been attempting a lot of questions, both previous year, simulating those tests, and doing these tests of various institutes for these sectional. So, sir, these three specific subjects, over and above, like the foundation needs to be very good, the basics, polity, and then geography. I think that should be combined with environment in preparation. So, sir, this has been my strategy, and that is how I have increased my score in prelims.
What did you did for the Forest Service mains?
So for Forest Service mains, this was my second mains. Last time it was very haphazard. I had a very short period to prepare. Two new optionals. This time I took support of your classes. I joined the forestry course, and the other thing that I did was rely a lot on PYQs. So almost of 10 years, I think, I wrote almost all the questions of forestry in my notebook, and I even kept on refining those answers. And apart from that, I lacked technical knowledge last time. I just prepared from the book and vomited. I could not understand a lot of things. But this time, I think, sir, because you have a lot of experience in teaching forestry, so I could understand what actually things are practically on ground within a forest, if specifically subjects like mensuration and surveying and forest management. They're hard to visualize and imagine how it really happens on the ground. So that was that, to rely on limited sources and keep revising, and PYQs. I think these are the two pillars in my limited understanding if we are to do well with the optionals.
You told that you wrote the Forest Service mains last year.
Yes, sir.
How is it was different with this year? Like in
Yes,
the forestry optional, restricting to forestry optional.
Yes,
How it has been different from it? Because GS and
Yes, sir.
English is going to be same.
Yes, sir.
How it is different?
Sir, last time the answers I wrote were very generic. I did not attempt the PYQ specifically. I just skimmed through the questions. This time I had ready-made answers we had a small group, two of my friends, Abhishek and Himanshu. Himanshu also cleared the exam. So with them, sir, we used to write these PYQs and regularly. So that really helped. Last time there was no focus on PYQs, neither on understanding, because the period was very short. It was just in a hurry to get done with the syllabus and just give the exam. And also I did not value it as much as a service, and I think that was my ignorance. But as I got to know from other people who got selected around me, it is a really good service and I am personally interested in it. So this was different with regard to forestry, and the technical understanding I already mentioned that I got from your classes. So I focused on very specific areas based on PYQs and the understanding I got from your classes. So that helped.
Because when the Forest Service and the Civil Service prelims has been combined,
Yes.
for the first initially few years, there has been a very less number of people appearing on the Forest Service exam.
Yes.
At that time, there was a opinion, there was a perspective that was going around. You read one book, you
Yes.
go and write.
Yes,
If you
sir.
do not understand also, you reproduce it, you will
Yes.
get the marks.
Yes.
That opinion largely prevailed. And I kept saying that after 2018, the trend was changed.
Yes, sir.
From your perspective, does it work? Like reading one
Yes.
book and going and reproducing, does it give the marks?
Sir, I think there is within the whole UPSC preparation, I think there are very few subjects for which there is a single book. Like if someone would come to me for advice, or if somebody who's experienced would advise somebody, I think it's very difficult to, like, probably for polity, you can say that you do Lakshmikant. Other than that, saying that only this book you do and this will suffice, it's, I think, not the best advice. But I think the point I want to make is that limited resources are very important. I have made that mistake over and over of relying on extra resources, not revising properly. But yeah, like having 2 or 3 resources at max and after you have consulted with your peers or seniors that this is the resource you can trust, and then like relying on that completely and revising. Like I relied on your classes and PYQs and some topper suggestions, and for a couple of topics Manigandan. So I think that should be done and revised as much as possible.
So, with respect to understanding of the subject,
Yes.
how does it changes the answer writing? Rather than memorizing and reproducing, understanding the subject, does it changes the answer writing style?
Yes, sir. From a tangible point of view, I think when like specifically questions, although there are not a lot of application based questions, but when there are application based questions, you're able to mold the content according to the question. Like what I used to do, like the last time I did, if I had memorized something, I'd probably diverge from the question's demand a bit if I have the understanding. Like I can exactly hit the nail on its head. I can address the question properly, and I can use. I think the best thing is that you use the specific keywords that would that the examiner would relate with somebody who's been teaching forestry for a long time, probably who's checking the paper. So that helps. I think that is the. I mean, you understand the keywords, how to use them, and you address the question properly.
As
And lastly, I was just saying that some question which comes out of the blue, even for that, you can probably write a better answer than other people, since you have some understanding. Probably you won't address the question, but at least you would do relatively better.
And as a student, how did you prepare the mains? We spoke
Yes,
about
sir.
the PYQs and all those things. What is the structure of your answers? Like, how do you structure your mains answers in forestry optional?
Yes, sir. Sir, like I just said, I think hitting the question directly, what is asked. I mean, having a very short one-line introduction of the keyword as suggested by you and other people I talked to have cleared that the key scientific term, like if it's a question on silviculture, I just mentioned that silviculture is this, and then I just mention the specific points in brief. And it's not like my optional was philosophy in CSC, so I cannot. There's no scope for like writing anything that is not asked.
Okay.
So the structure is once with a short direct introduction about the keyword and directly addressing the question in the body, and then there's no need. I like people have suggested to write a conclusion, and two, if you have specific examples in recent data, or say I'm writing a question on forest fire, if I can quote that people were responsible for the Uttarakhand forest fire, which incidentally has spread so much, I think that gives a really good impression to the examiner that apart from the technical understanding, I am also keeping up with the current affairs and I'm quoting the right examples. So,
I personally believe in one thing, which is writing practice.
yes, sir.
And what did you do for this attempt with respect to the test, writing practice, and how
Yes.
did it improve it?
So for writing practice, I think I've mentioned it a couple of minutes back that
PYQs.
yes, sir, I wrote a lot of PYQs, and through that most of the content was indirectly covered. And so that was in a way one round of revision as well. Like once I read the notes or the book and I wrote the content. So with regard to answer writing, that was one. And apart from that, like attempting tests here at Vajiram in a controlled environment or at my place, and we had that regular answer writing as
Daily
well.
answer writing.
Yeah, so that helped cover the parts that probably were left out, or it revised, helped me revise several topics which we had covered in class. So answer writing involved these three things essentially: the tests here, the PYQs, and the daily answer writing.
How did the interview go?
Sir, the interview was very conversational,
Okay.
and they made me feel very comfortable. It was the Raj Shukla sir's board, and it was mostly on IR, surprisingly, international relations. and about India's position in the world, whether India has arrived or not, and why or how should India counter BRI. And then because my name is Swastik and they asked me the meaning and why do I put a C in the end. So from there it went to Israel Palestine because I mentioned the Jews, and so then it again went to IR. But there were a few broad questions asked about forestry, like how we can improve biodiversity conservation or awareness around it. And the specific scheme was asked, green credit program. That was the only factual question, I would say. Other than that, it was very broad. What would I do to deal with an animal that a local community is dealing with and they want to kill the animal? How would I, as a DFO, deal with it? So I think I enjoyed it as well because I could think and answer rather than just giving a very factual answer. So yeah, I enjoyed the process. And just a funny thing that happened, I said good afternoon, although I was the first person to give the interview that day at 9:30 probably. Because I was accustomed to like giving the mocks in the afternoon.
Okay.
So I always used to wish good afternoon, and it just came out and everybody sort of chuckled. And then I corrected myself.
How did you prepare for the interview?
For the interview, it was my first UPSC interview. I had not appeared for an interview before, UPSC interview. So the one thing was to give mocks. I don't know if it's the best strategy because I don't have a lot of experience with regard to interviews. I gave a lot of mocks and one-on-one DAF sessions I had one with you, with some officers. So, like Mahesh Bhagwat sir, Shreyas Srivastav sir, Ravi Meena sir, Sarthak Parashar sir, like a lot of people actually. And to a point where I got confused in the end because there were a lot of different advice coming through. But yeah, that helped me like narrow down on questions. These are the questions, this is the bank of questions largely from where I would be asked. But surprisingly, like it happens in prelims, if you expect, what questions would come in prelims, you're not probably, you won't be right. Yeah, you'll face new questions in the exam and anything can happen. And in the interview as well. Like 40% of my interview was an IR. Like who could have guessed? So, but yeah, this was my strategy. And lastly, we had a small group with some selected candidates from the past. So that group helped me a lot. And yeah, one more thing that I like PYQs. I focused on the transcripts. So the 2021 transcripts, I prepared the answers. And a friend of mine, Himanshu, I mentioned, he had prepared the 2022 transcript answers. So those answers also helped. And this is what I did for the interview.
And you've been speaking about all these names.
Yes,
I can recollect my memory and their one-to-ones with our interactions with the other people. So you mentioned Himanshu or Sarthak or Shreyas.
Yes,
so
sir.
Nice persons, and they have been doing
Yes,
a
sir.
lot of service as well in the field in different states. Nice to know that. And how do you pursue? Like, what is your things now? What do you want to do? Like when you enter into forest? Do you have any vision? Like a simplest thing you will do?
Yes, sir. With regard to, sir, the vision probably, sir, I don't have vision. But, sir, the larger idea is to be sincere and in the work I do, the service, and within the training as well, to actually enjoy it as much as I can because it has been a long journey. And then like learn as much as I can from my seniors within the classes as well. And be a dedicated officer who understands people's needs, is compassionate to animals as well, because on a personal front, I have been involved to some extent for the welfare of animals due to some people around me. And so yeah, having that spirit, keeping that spirit alive, keeping those values alive that some people, good people around me have passed on to me, and yeah, doing my service properly. And like this is the idea, because it is so sudden, and I didn't have any time to think. With more time to think, I will probably have a vision, and with more inputs from people who are more experienced, I think then it would have make sense to have a proper vision. My understanding is very limited at this point of times.
Do you want to say like your journey with anything with Vajiram and Ravi?
Yes. Sir, with Vajiram, like I mentioned, your classes specifically, they helped me a lot, and it's not just to endorse it, but because I saw a very visible improvement from last time. Last time I didn't even make it to the interview, and I think I missed by 30 or more than 30 marks. I don't remember the exact cutoff. So the optional preparation with regard to forestry, that was on point. Like I knew what to read, and just the content seemed so much better than what I had been consuming earlier. Like probably it was there, the content in different ways, but it was so scattered. Like as a candidate, I would not have in a limited period been able to like prepare properly or consolidate that and deliver that, and also understand that, because it requires some time, I believe. So in that part, like that consolidated content being available, getting that technical understanding and delivering it in tests here, and then also sir, you being readily available, like whenever I wanted to reach out, I did, and I could seek support. Even with the interview, I had a good experience with the panel here. I think the questions were very diverse from different areas of my DAF, although my actual interview was not so much from my DAF. But yeah, even some discussion was there on IR within the panel.
Oh, nice.
So overall, it has been a good experience. Yeah.
Thank you,
Classes
Swastik.
and interviews.
It's
Thank
been
you,
a good
sir.
journey.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
you
so
very
much.